Youth unemployment in Canada has hit a record high of 20%. Kids applying for entry-level jobs are never hearing back, and the saddest part about all of this is that while our kids can't find a job, some of Canada's largest corporations are actively lobbying the government to import cheap foreign labor.
We're also preparing to launch a targeted advertising campaign for internationally so that people are aware of what's available in Canada, and there can be those closer links to the great life here, the opportunities here, and links into employers as well.
Tim Hortons is one of the most outrageous abusers of Canada's controversial temporary foreign worker program, and I'd like to give a huge thanks to ApplyWave for compiling the official Employment and Social Development Canada data in their March 2026 guide, because it shows that since 2019, Canada has approved 1.4 million LMIA positions. That's the Labor Market Impact Assessment that lets employers prove they couldn't find a Canadian to fill a certain job posting, and then allows them to bring in a foreign worker instead. 1.4 million. And for Canada's population that used to sit at around 30 million before the Liberals under Justin Trudeau opened the immigration floodgates in 2015, that is an absolute population policy earthquake. Let's look at the yearly numbers. That's straight from the ESDC records. 2019 sat at 82,396. 2020, that's COVID, it dipped this to 68,592. Then boom, 2021, 143,847. 2022, 284,506. And the peak in 2023, 345,281. 2024 comes back down a little bit to 263,540, and 2025 still sitting at 228,074 approvals, even after the government started tightening the screws. That 2022-2023 surge is almost quadruple the 2019 baseline. Historical averages before this sat around 60 to 70,000 per year. We're now running 3 to 4 times higher year after year. That's not filling genuine labor shortages. It's systemic replacement. And now Tim Hortons franchisees sit at number 3 on the top employers list with roughly 2,400 LMIA approvals. They lobbied hard to raise the low wage cap on weekly hours, and they justifiably received massive backlash for doing so. Youth unemployment is through the roof. Kids can't get their first job, and Canadians were watching their local Tims staffed by workers brought in from abroad, while help wanted signs sat in the window. Just last month, Tim Hortons tried to save face by announcing that they are hiring 10,000 locals and scaling back their temporary foreign worker use by 50%. But they're still actively recruiting temporary foreign workers right now all across the country. And here's where we have to kind of zoom out, because it turns out that Tim Hortons isn't even the biggest user or abuser of this program. Look at these top 10 employers. Maple Leaf Foods at 3,200 plus, Agricultural Seasonal and Agricultural Worker Program at 2,800 plus, Cargill, Loblaws, Amazon, McDonald's. The list is dominated by food processing and agriculture, and the top occupants tell the real story. General Farm Workers, 168,420. Food counter attendees, 89,315. That's Tim's and every fast food chain from Subway to A&W. Harvesting laborers, 86,740. Light duty cleaners, 54,000. Cooks, almost 49,000. And transport truck drivers at just over 45,000. Agriculture and food services are swallowing the lion's share of these approvals. The low wage stream and agricultural stream have almost no cap and massive volume. Meanwhile, the high wage and global talent streams get all the polite discussion, but the bulk of the program is low wage, low skill, and concentrated in a handful of industries that have gotten very comfortable not raising wages or training Canadians.
Your government is on track to issue 215,000 roughly new permits between foreign students and temporary foreign workers. Why are you letting in so many more temporary foreign laborers when you don't have a way to track people whose permits might have expired? Like, why are you doing that?
I've traveled across the country. Businesses, communities in all parts of the country are
Yeah, but what about
need
Canadian
temporary
kids?
workers for many different
but
sectors
what
in our
about Canadian?
economy. And we do have a great system. We know people who are coming in. They are security cleared. We know where they're working. They're
I guess I'm just wondering, if you can't track if people who aren't supposed to be here can leave, why you would be issuing new permits and potentially taking away jobs from Canadian youth in the middle of a jobs crisis. But
1
I
minute.
digress. This is pretty bad, right?
Province by province, it's the same pattern, but Ontario leads this fiasco massively at 412,300 approvals, 29% of the entire nation's total. British Columbia, Quebec, Alberta aren't far behind. These 4 provinces alone account for over 80% of the entire program. This isn't about blaming individual workers who are just following the rules. The workers are actually themselves caught in a system that ties their immigration status to their employer and leaves them vulnerable to exploitation and LMIA fraud. It's not only rampant, but well documented. The problem is the scale and the policy choices. We went from a program designed for genuine seasonal shortages to a parallel labor market that now dwarfs anything we saw pre-2019. And remember, every one of those 1.4 million LMIAs is a job an employer swore they couldn't fill with a Canadian or permanent resident. At these volumes, that claim starts to look like a rubber stamp rather than a serious labor market test. So yes, Tim Hortons is taking the heat, and they deserved it as the largest food service LMIA user. But the data from Apply Wave shows the real story is much bigger. Entire industries and entire provinces have built business models around temporary foreign labor at a completely unprecedented scale. So who's protecting Canadian workers? And is this actually training the next generation, or are we just kicking the can down the road while youth unemployment climbs and housing gets more unaffordable?
Personally, I think they need to focus more on Canadians, not from foreigners coming in and taking our work.
Yes.
That's my issue. I have nothing against multicultures, Indian, Pakistani, I'm a multicultural guy myself, but I'm against them coming into Canada and taking away Canadians from the workplace.
Drop your thoughts below, and thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit subscribe and share this if you care about Canadian jobs. For Rebel News, I'm Tamara Ugolini. We have some great new swag, including Tim Hortons themed stuff at timsboycott.com. Head on over to that website and see our collection of reports on this file. Support our work if you want to see more of it, and buy a shirt while you're there. That's timsboycott.com.